Disappearances have a strange geometry. The grief stretches for years, sometimes decades, but the moment the person vanishes can be brutally small, just minutes, sometimes seconds. A door closes, a car pulls away, a phone stops responding, and from that point onward, time becomes something else. It stops being measured in hours and starts being measured in unanswered questions. When someone goes missing, the people who love them don't just lose a person, they lose certainty. They lose the ability to end a thought. Every memory becomes a clue. Every ordinary day becomes a crime scene in the mind. And the worst part is how normal it always begins. They don't vanish during a storm on a mountaintop with a dramatic soundtrack. They vanish during errands, during quick trips, during the kind of routine movement that's supposed to be safe. The world trains us to treat errands like nothing: gas station, store, phone repair, job center, back home, a clean loop, a simple story, until the story breaks. Tonight on Unsolved Crimes, we're re-looking at two disappearances that began as normal errands and ended as mysteries that still haven't been answered. Two women, two different countries, two timelines that refuse to make sense. And in both cases, the same haunting question rises to the top. How does a person disappear in plain sight? Cynthia Martina Botrari was 39 years old when she vanished in Texas in early 2021. She was a mother of two, and in the months around her disappearance, she was navigating the kind of pressure that can quietly tear a person apart: family strain, life instability, and a divorce process that brought its own gravity. She was living in Crowley, Texas, and according to reports about the case, she had roots in Omaha, Nebraska, and had worked as a substitute teacher. But the facts that matter most begin on one specific night, February 3rd, 2021, at 10:35 p.m. Surveillance footage captured Cynthia at a Shell gas station in Grandview, Texas, located on East Kreiner Street. She gets into her vehicle and drives away. She is never seen again. That detail, she drove away, is important, because it means the vanishing point isn't the gas station. The gas station is only the last confirmed checkpoint. The disappearance happened after somewhere between "I'm running errands" and "I'm back home." According to accounts cited by her family in case coverage, Cynthia left home that evening to handle quick errands, but she never returned. Her loved ones tried to reach her. She didn't answer calls. She didn't respond to messages. That's when the tension changed from busy to wrong. Now here's where the story starts to feel like it's made of broken glass. During the early panic, Cynthia's family reportedly contacted her estranged husband, and according to accounts shared in case coverage, he said she was in the hospital. But when they called the hospital, staff said there was no patient matching her name and description. It's unclear whether this was misinformation, misunderstanding, or something darker. But what matters is what it did. It burned time. It pushed the family into a fog when clarity was needed most. And when the official search began, the first big anchor was that Shell station footage. But footage is only a frame. It shows what the camera saw, not what happened next. In missing person cases, the environment can become an accomplice, not because nature intends harm, but because weather erases evidence faster than time does. In Cynthia's case, an extreme winter event hit Texas in mid-February 2021. The state experienced a historic deep freezy snow, ice, and widespread power outages. Roads became dangerous. Visibility collapsed. Normal searching became delayed and compromised. And then, as the storm swallowed the state, Cynthia's vehicle appeared. On February 16, 2021, a state trooper discovered Cynthia's blue Mazda CX-5, abandoned near Interstate 35, close to mile marker 355, in the Waco area. Accounts from her family's website and case coverage described the battery as dead, gas empty, keys inside an eerie set of details that reads like a vehicle that simply decided gave up. No Cynthia, no purse, no obvious trace of where she went. And one of the most controversial details according to the family's reporting of the situation is what happened next. The car was towed, and the family says they were not immediately notified of the vehicle's discovery. Think about that for a second. A missing woman's vehicle is found during a historic freeze. The car is a crime scene possibility, and yet the family doesn't immediately learn about it. Days pass, the chain of custody becomes complicated. Potential evidence is disturbed. The timeline becomes less clean. If you're watching this and you've ever wondered why families lose faith in investigations, this is one of the reasons. Because sometimes the case isn't only about what happened to the missing person, it's also about what happens after they're missing, how the system responds, how evidence is handled, how urgency is applied or withheld. When the family learned the vehicle had been found, they reportedly reached out to law enforcement and, based on the family's public statements, they were told something that felt impossible, that Cynthia likely walked away from the car and went to start a new life. But consider the conditions. Mid-February in Texas, during that deep freeze, meant snow, ice, and widespread outages. Cynthia's family pushed back hard on the idea that she simply stepped out into that environment and calmly chose to reinvent herself. A relative was quoted in coverage questioning who would walk away in those conditions to begin a new life. And even beyond the weather, look at the geography. The vehicle was found in an area described as rural fields, farmland, stretches of nothing. If Cynthia stepped out on foot, where was she going? Who picked her up? Where are the sightings? Where is the footprint trail? Where is the camera capture? And then there's the simplest human argument. Cynthia was a mother of 2. Families close to the case have repeatedly said her children were her world, and she would not vanish by choice. So if she didn't walk away by choice, we were left with only a few broad possibilities. 1. She had a crisis medical or psychological and left the vehicle in confusion. 2. She was met by someone after leaving the Shell station. 3. The vehicle was moved by another person. 4. She was harmed and the vehicle was staged. Each option has its own problems, but all of them are more plausible than she simply started a new life without money, without her usual patterns, without her phone activity, without her bank accounts being used, without her reaching out to anyone she loved. When a missing person's vehicle is found, it becomes the loudest object in the story. Cars hold fingerprints, hairs, fibers, DNA, trace evidence, patterns of movements, sometimes even the final truth. Cynthia's family has publicly stated that they requested DNA testing on the vehicle, and there were disputes and confusion over what testing was or wasn't done and what information could be shared. And this is where cases like this become emotionally exhausting. Families aren't just grieving, they're also forced into becoming advocates, investigators, public relations teams, sometimes even legal strategists, just to keep pressure on the system. Cynthia's case drew attention through ongoing campaigns and media coverage, and a $50,000 reward has been associated with information leading to her whereabouts. In later years, an FBI agent was reported to be assigned to the case, but the family has indicated frustration with communication and progress. And so, Cynthia's story has remained in the worst place a case can live, active enough to be open, quiet enough to feel abandoned. Now let S slow down and do what investigators do when the evidence is thin. Rebuild the last confirmed minutes, like they remade of glass. It's 10:35 p.m. Cynthia is on camera at a Shell station in Grandview. What does that mean? It means she had enough control to drive there. It suggests she was functioning, at least at a basic level, and it means the errand was real. She was out doing something. A common detail in Cynthia's case coverage is that her phone may have been left behind at the gas station. Some reporting notes that she left her cell phone there, adding another layer of confusion, because most people don't just abandon their phone. If she left it accidentally, that could indicate distraction, stress, or a mental health event. If she left it intentionally, that could suggest she didn't want to be tracked, or someone else wanted her untraceable. Either way, it's not a neutral detail. From there, she drives away. And now, the road opens in front of her like a blank page. How does she end up near Waco? Why would she travel that direction? Did she stop anywhere else? Did she meet someone? Did someone follow her? Was she alone the entire time? Was she on a route she'd traveled before? The most terrifying thing about missing cases is that the truth can live inside ordinary logic. The route could be simple. The reason could be simple. But without the one missing piece, the witness, the camera, the receipt, the text, the case becomes a maze with no walls. Sometimes, in a missing person case, the most haunting clue isn't what's there, but what's missing. Not a footprint, not a weapon, but time itself. For Georgina Garcella, a mother of 2 from Worthing, England, the most damaging detail wasn't some dramatic discovery. It was something quieter, something that happens far more often than we like to admit. 10 days passed before she was officially reported missing. Now, this wasn't because her family didn't love her, or because they weren't worried. It was because real life is complicated. Georgina had patterns. Sometimes she'd stay with friends. She had an on and off relationship. And on the morning of March 7, 2018, her phone was already acting up, which meant a bit of silence didn't immediately scream danger. It just felt like life. But then a few days stretched into a week, and that silence stopped feeling like busy and started feeling profoundly wrong. The last confirmed sighting of Georgina was on CCTV at around 9:50 a.m. She walked into the Clifton Food and Wine shop, asked for help with her phone, was directed to another store, and then left. That's the last time anyone can definitively say they saw her. She was supposed to go to the job center and then meet her father. She never made it to either. Her phone disconnected from the network later that morning and never came back online. 10 days later, on March 17th, the official missing person report was filed. 10 days. In an investigation, 10 days isn't just a delay. It can be an erasure. CCTV footage, our modern-day miracle for solving crimes, gets overwritten, usually on a weekly or bi-weekly cycle. Witnesses' memories fade. The face of a passerby, the make of a car, a brief conversation, it all blurs into the background noise of daily life. By the time a case is declared urgent, the city has often swept its own streets clean of the very clues needed to solve it. It's a story that feels almost designed to never be solved. The uncomfortable truth is that we put immense faith in CCTV, but it's incredibly fragile. If it's not collected quickly, it's gone. If it's collected but mishandled, it's lost. If it exists but sits on a shelf unreviewed, it's useless. In Georgina's case, an independent review later criticized the investigation for being slow to start, under-resourced, and lacking commitment. The report specifically highlighted major problems with how CCTV was collected, the loss of some footage, and long delays in reviewing what they actually had. Think about what that means in human terms. Somewhere in Worthing, within walking distance of that last shop, there could have been a camera that captured Georgina turning a corner, getting into a car, or meeting someone. That footage might have held the answer, and it could have simply vanished into digital ether because no one got to it in time. It's the ultimate nightmare of modern safety. Cameras are everywhere, but they still provide no answers. Then, the investigation produced a second piece of footage, one that didn't solve the case but poured gasoline on the fire. Police circulated a clip from Worthing Town Centre, recorded around 3:30 p.m. on the day Georgina vanished. It showed a woman who looked like her, walking with another unidentified woman. But there was a problem. Details, like the shoes, didn't seem to match what Georgina was wearing earlier. The police were never able to confirm it was her, and eventually pulled the footage from their public appeal. Her family, however, firmly believed it was Georgina, and this single point of contention changes everything. If it was Georgina, it means she was alive and well for several more hours, moving deeper into a public space, potentially with someone who holds the key to this mystery. If it wasn't her, then she likely vanished much earlier, within a tighter radius of that morning shop visit. The window for what happened becomes smaller, and potentially more violent. Either way, it leaves us with an impossible question. How does a person just disappear from a busy town center on a Wednesday morning, without a single clear sighting that leads somewhere? At a certain point, investigators made a grim but necessary decision. They reclassified Georgina's disappearance as a homicide inquiry. This was an official acknowledgement of what her family had feared all along. There was no proof of life, no bank activity, no phone calls, no contact with her beloved children. Her disappearance didn't fit the pattern of someone who had simply walked away. And that term, nobody homicide, is one of the coldest in the true crime vocabulary. It means the police believe a murder has occurred, but they can't show you a body, a crime scene, or a weapon. All they have is an absence. An absence is incredibly difficult to prosecute, to explain, and for a family, impossible to live with. When a body can't be found, investigators start hunting for something else. A secret that someone, somewhere, can no longer bear to keep. That's why, on the 7th anniversary of her disappearance, Detective Superintendent Andy Wolstenholme released a powerful open letter. It was aimed directly at the person or people who know what happened to Georgina. This wasn't a routine press release. It was a public pressure tactic, a stark reminder that someone has carried this burden for 7 long years, while a family has suffered every single day of that silence. Because in cases like this, the truth doesn't always lie in forensics. Sometimes, it's buried in a half-heard pub conversation, a confession made during a heated argument, or a local rumor that everyone kind of knows but is too afraid to say out loud. In these situations, the community can become a wall, not a wall built of malice, but one built of fear. Fear of getting involved, fear of retaliation, fear of being wrong. But every day that wall stands, a mother of two remains missing, and her family remains in limbo. As the years dragged on, theories began to multiply. Some suggested Georgina left on her own. Others thought she might have taken her own life. But the police's shift to a homicide investigation strongly implies they believed she was a victim of foul play. Darker theories emerged, suggesting she might have fallen in with a dangerous crowd or been pulled into a criminal element in the area. The problem with all these theories is that they create noise, and in an active investigation, noise can be deadly. It can bury real leads under a mountain of speculation and force a grieving family to endure strangers debating their loved one's life as if it were a TV show. Major UK documentaries, like Channel 4's In the Footsteps of Killers, have revisited the case, reconstructing Georgina's last known movements and trying to shed new light. These programs are vital for raising awareness and can pressure those with information to come forward. But a documentary can only do so much. It can't replace the one thing this family, and every family like them, truly needs: someone with the courage to step forward with that one missing piece of the puzzle. When you look at cases like Georgina's, you start to see a heartbreaking pattern. A person is last seen on a simple errand. They have a normal interaction. Then, their phone goes silent, and their financial activity stops. Initially, authorities might drift toward convenient explanations, that they walked away, that their lifestyle was a factor, and far too often, it's the families who are forced to become their own investigators, pushing, pleading, and fighting just to keep the case from going cold. Georgina's mother has said it time and time again: her daughter would never have abandoned her children. She would have left a message, she would have made contact, she would have done something, anything, if she were alive and free. Both her family and the police agree on this. The system didn't move with the urgency that was needed in those critical first hours, and once a case loses that initial momentum, the investigation stops being a chase and starts becoming archaeology sifting through the dust of time, hoping to find a fragment of the truth. We always ask, where did she go? But perhaps the more important question is, what was the moment when the world still had a chance to save her? Was it the 10-day delay in reporting? The window where crucial CCTV was lost forever? Disappearances are more than just tragedies. They are a test of our systems. And in Georgina Garcella's case, the system failed quietly, leaving a family with nothing but questions and a silence that has now lasted for years. If you have any information about the disappearance of Georgina Garcella, please contact Sussex Police. Even the smallest detail could be the key to bringing her home and giving her family the answers they so desperately deserve. Thank you for watching.